Hi there. Welcome back to Watchcastage. Can you tell it's the fall? Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. The watch that I'm talking about today, zoom in, editor. Editor me. This is the Christopher Ward C65 Aquitane GMT Orca Black, which I knew off the top of my head because we're in the woods and there is certainly not a camera, just a computer right off screen. I got this in 2022, and this is my wearing experience with this watch. Let's go ahead and start with a couple of measurements. As far as the case diameter, I measure it at 41.1 millimeters. I measured the lug to lug at 46 millimeters, but if we include the protruding center links, I measure it at 51.6 millimeters. It has 22 millimeter lug spacing, so it takes 22 millimeter straps. The thickness of this thing comes in at around 12.9 millimeters. And it weighs in at around 146 grams when it's sized up for my 6.5 inch or around 16.5 centimeter wrist. It has an all stainless steel case, a signed screw down crown with Christopher Ward's twin flag logo, a screw down display case back with a sapphire crystal. It has a domed sapphire crystal. The bezel also has a domed sapphire crystal to emulate the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. And because of the screw-down crown and the screw-on case back, we get 200 meters of water resistance. The clasp also has on-the-fly micro adjustment, so if I pull on this lever, it allows me to shrink or extend the bracelet by about 9 millimeters, so you have plenty of adjustability when you're out and about. It is absolutely awesome. The movement in this watch is the Sellita SW330-2 movement, which is a collar GMT movement. In terms of accuracy, I was getting between +3 and +4 seconds a day, so pretty good accuracy. Now here's how the watch looks on my 6.5 inch wrist. Even with the 51.5 mil lug to lug with the center links, I think it works quite nicely. Let me go ahead and rotate around so you can see the side profile and see how it sits. The light catcher case from Christopher Ward is just one of my all-time favorites. It wears so incredibly thin. Rotating around, you do have a signed clasp, which is a dual button push deployant. So you have that. Rotating back around, there's a side profile again, and then rotating, and here is the dial of the watch. Now here's a quick lume shot of the watch, and the first thing you're going to notice is that fully lumed bezel, which looks amazing in the dark. However, it does fade a little bit faster than the rest of the watch. As far as the hands, you have plenty of lume on the hour, minutes, seconds, and GMT hands, and they are all very easy to differentiate. And you get very easy orientation on the dial because you have that triangle at 12, no lume at 6, and then different triangles at 3 and 9. Just great lume on this watch and very easy to read in the dark. Now let's do some size comparisons, and the first one we need to do is the C65 Vintage Trident Pepsi GMT, both 41 millimeters, but the Aquitane looks significantly smaller because the dial is so much smaller, but there you go. Let's go ahead and throw up the Seiko 5KX to give you a bit of context and sizing. Enough of that. Let's throw up the Tudor Black Bay 58, a very popular 39 millimeter watch. There you go, Aquitane next to the, I almost called it the C65, the Black Bay 58. Now let's look at a couple of G-Shocks, and first up is the classic 5600 Square. I would say the Square looks a bit smaller than the Aquitane, but there you go. And the second one is the 6900 Noise 6900, big old chunky watch. When I wear this, it looks like I'm a child who stole his dad's watch. So yes, the Aquitane looks smaller than the 6900. And to follow up the G-Shocks, we have a late entrant into the competition, the Neumann. Hello, Neumann U87AI. And the voiceover is being recorded on a Neumann. Hello, Neumann KMS 105. So, for size comparison, this is the U87 next to the C65 Aquitane. If you don't watch my mic channel, you're gonna be lost. What is he talking about? That is enough of the measurements, all of the size comparisons, all of that nonsense. Now let's get to the super subjective stuff so I can make some people angry. We'll start with what I have liked about this watch, and number one is the case. This is Christopher Ward's light catcher case, and as I say every single time I experience it, it is one of my all-time favorites. The shape of it hugs the wrist, the mid case is nice and thin, and it hides the actual thickness of the watch really well. It is not overly polished, it is not overly brushed, it is just fantastic. I love this case on every single one of their watches that I have tried out. Number two is the bracelet. It is so refined, it is well finished, the taper of it is incredibly comfortable, and it works so well as an entire package. And the bracelet has a nice little cherry on top with the clasp, which has fantastic on-the-fly micro adjustment. For this price, $1,200 to $1,500, getting a case like that, a bracelet like that, and a clasp like that is just bonkers. It is really, really great. The next thing that I enjoyed is the bi-directional bezel, and you may be thinking, that's stupid, it's a GMT, of course it has a bi-directional bezel. The reason I put it in what I liked is because when I reviewed their vintage Pepsi GMT, that had a 60-click or 120-click unidirectional diving bezel with a 24-hour insert. So this is a big upgrade from what they had just a couple of years ago. Piggybacking on the bezel talk, I love that they included a fully loomed insert because that makes the GMT function a lot more usable in the dark. It looks awesome in the dark, and when it's paired up with the awesome loomed dial and hands, this is just a joy to use at night. You don't have to worry about not being able to read it, not being able to get your orientation. It is just fantastic. I also like that they upgraded from a non-screw down to a screw down crown. I know a lot of people don't care about that, but that puts my mind at ease that I'm not going to accidentally leave the crown pulled out and then flood the watch and ruin it. Because of the screw-down crown, they also upgraded the water resistance from the last GMT, which was 150 to 200 meters. I know a lot of people don't find that to be terribly important, but again, for me, it puts my mind at ease. I know I'm not diving 200 meters, and as the really kind commenter pointed out, look at his skin. He doesn't even go outside. He doesn't swim. You're right. But I still like it. 200 meters water resistance screw down crown, super duper. And then we get to what I didn't like about this watch, and it is very limited. Number one is I think they may have gone a bit overboard with the faux Tina. Everything on this is faux Tina'd except for the Christopher Ward logo and the date wheel. Everything else has this beige look to it, and I think it might have been a bit too aggressive. And I also found the watch to be a bit too shiny. That's the first thing I noticed when I pulled this watch out. I thought it was too shiny to the point where I didn't wear it when I traveled, and I went back to the Pepsi GMT from them because it was much more subdued, much more under the radar. The bezel on this is incredibly shiny because it is domed, it is sapphire, it reflects light. Also, the hour markers are super high polish, and those reflect light extremely well also. I just think it's a bit of a culture clash or an aesthetic clash where you have so much faux Tina mixed with this ultra shiny bezel and ultra shiny hour markers. I think it may have worked slightly better if they had gone the route of maybe printed markers instead of these high polish barriers. Why can't I think of the word? My brain just broke. High polish surrounds is what I was looking for. Those are the only two things I don't like about it. Everything else, I think it's great. So what are my overall thoughts about the Christopher Ward C65 Aquitane GMT Orca Black? I think this thing absolutely kicks butt in terms of the way that it wears, in terms of the functionality, in terms of the value for money, in terms of the vibes that it gives off, because I did criticize it for being a bit heavy on the faux Tina, but at the same time, The reason why I embrace the fall thing, this gives me fall vibes through and through, just like the Black Bay 58 Black. It makes me feel like the fall. It reminds me of the fall, and I love that. I labeled the Black Bay 58 the Pumpkin Spice Latte of watches. I'll label this the Pumpkin Spice Latte Junior of watches. So if you don't like fall vibes, if you don't like faux Tina, if you find that clash of aesthetics where you have this vintage looking watch with these high polish and very shiny areas, chances are you aren't going to like it. But if you're okay with those couple of drawbacks, maybe you don't view them as drawbacks, I do. But even with those drawbacks, I think this thing is a blast to wear, puts a smile on my face. It's a great GMT. It's a great GMT, very functional, good vibes. There you go. That is my wearing experience with this watch over the last 10 to 12-ish months. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, thumbs up. If you hated it, thumbs down. Let me know how to improve. I do this for fun. It takes me forever to get these done. I filmed part of this 20 days ago. I didn't have a free moment between the day job and the YouTube stuff until today, 20 days later. If you're going pumpkin patch hunting or something, watch out for that guy. I don't know why stuff's fallen over, and I don't know why Adobe gave me a pumpkin with an AK-47. I don't know what's happening. That is it. Thank you for watching. No pun intended. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Whoa, whoa.